that doesn't set up a brokerage company or isn't affiliated with a broker, to me, is silly. It's just silly. I don't understand why people wouldn't do it once you know about it. All you have to do is run an ad. It doesn't even cost anything for a 2-line ad. Simply says, under help wanted, real estate, broker wanted for private investment company, and your phone number. That's it. And then you sit down and you meet. And if the broker isn't doing anything, if they aren't active, well, the next thing you know is you guys hook up with he or she. You bring them here. Next thing you know, you get hooked up with Dan if you're new. I don't know if you've gotten a chance to look at this, but this is a real great description for people that are just getting started. I mean, think of it this way. Let's say you're a realtor and you're just getting started, and your a family member referred somebody to you that's going to buy $1 million home, and you've never listed or sold anything over $200,000 in your life. This is your first big deal, right? What do you do? What should you do? Okay, call your broker. All right, and what should you do? Call your broker. Okay, hello broker. What do you do? Well, you got a client that wants to buy a property. And?
I want them to search the MLS and find the property.
Okay, well, that's one thing you could do.
Advice or mentorship.
You want to get advice, you want to get mentorship. What you want to do is don't pretend that you know about $1 million homes. Because, again, it's Andrew, right? So let's say Andrew is the $1 million buyer. He's going to know in about 3 seconds that you've never done a deal over $200,000 in your life. Just because the way you will act, the way you'll move, the way you think, the way you describe things to him. Right? When you walk in and you say, here's the kitchen. It's a giveaway. He knows what the kitchen is. Basically what you want to do with this guy is open the door and say, hey, I'll be outside on the porch smoking a cigar. Let me know if you have any questions. He doesn't want to be bothered. The point is you don't know what to do. And with a program like this, you have an opportunity to learn. And this is basically how I was taught. I had a mentor almost my whole life. And these mentors will be able to teach you some of the things that you don't normally think about. And to me, something as simple as setting up a brokerage company is something that's fundamental for anyone that's in the real estate business. Because if you're going to buy property, why would you want to give away that commission? Now, of course, if you have an active agent, an active broker that you're working with that's finding product for you, well then, of course, they would get the commission. But there's still no reason why, on many transactions, that people can't capture that sale commission, because many times investors do their work themselves. You know, they do the scouring and the finding and the locating, right? And then they find a property that's listed, and then they end up giving away the commission because they don't think about the fact that they could be getting that. And if you do any number of transactions on a regular basis, it adds up fast. So these are the things I'm going to give you are things to think about. Whether you use them or not is your choice. But logically, try to take the thinking of it and put it into whatever it is that you're doing. Okay? Any questions on that? You're good. All right, next thing, lease purchase. So I wrote the first book on the market on lease purchase that was focused on residential real estate. And basically, lease option, rent option, lease purchase, lease to own, to me, are all the same. There might be some subtle differences somewhere. I don't know what they are. So conceptually, somebody's simply renting with the right or the option to buy in the future. So if you picture a lease contract and a purchase contract, you simply staple them together, right? So again, using Andrew, Andrew is going to lease a home with his family for, let's say, a year, right? Under this contract's agreement. Like you would if you were just renting a house or an apartment. Yep. But within this lease contract, you simply refer to the purchase contract in case and if the buyer wants to exercise their option to buy. Yep. And this is how it would be done. You simply staple them together, and that makes a lease purchase. The key is to understand the logic behind why you would want to add a lease purchase or a lease option into your arsenal of doing things. Okay? If you understand lease purchase enough, you could realize that lease purchase could be a financing mechanism that you can use. Think about people that are in transactions where they owe more than the property's worth. What's the choice for that person that owns the property, typically? Rent it, give it back to the bank, try to dump it and lose money, right? But typically in real estate there's sale or there's rent. What lease purchase simply does is gives you a third choice. Think of it as if you're you have an ice cream store and you have chocolate and you have vanilla. And now you're going to add in strawberry. It's just a third choice. That's it. It's another choice. And by having the availability of lease purchase with your transactions, you simply increase the probability that somebody might do a deal with you. I mean, if you had strawberry, somebody actually might like strawberry instead of vanilla or chocolate, and they walk into your store. Or maybe they normally would get vanilla, and they're like, hey, I don't try that strawberry out. Next thing you know, they're making a sundae, and you have an upsell. Okay? Properties that you own yourself. Some people say, I never want to sell that property, so why would I ever lease purchase it out to somebody? Well, if you know much about lease purchases, they almost never close. People say, well, why would you do a lease purchase if it almost never closes? Well, why are there gyms in the world? I mean, I have a friend that barely went to the gym until he got a lifetime membership that they had for sale. And he bought the lifetime membership. That solidified the fact that he was never going to go to the gym again. As soon as he bought that lifetime membership, he had never went again. Okay, it was great for the gym, the owner, the company, right? But for the individual. The point is that it's a choice. It's an alternative. That's it. So if somebody's in your property and they are renting, you have a renter. They put security deposit down, which you have to give back. They make a monthly payment, and that's it. Think of it when you rent a car. Not you, but when you were a teenager. You drink a Coke and you throw the can over your shoulder. If you are lease purchasing that car, the odds are you throw the can in a trash can somewhere. You're going to take a little bit better care of the property. You might not necessarily ever exercise your option, but at least you have the choice of maybe selling the option to somebody else if you don't exercise it yourself. A lot of people don't think about that. They think, oh, okay, well, I can't exercise my option, I'm just going to leave. Well, all right, let's say Dan owns a property, and he's going to lease purchase it to me, or lease option it to me. 6 months into the deal, of a one-year deal, I get transferred. And let's say I put $10,000 down on this property. Most people would think that's the end of it. I lose my $10,000. All I got to do is call up Dan and say, hey, Dan, could I sell my option to somebody else? If you're an investor, you would put into your contract the assignability of the contract to someone else just in case you have to leave. Some people actually do that as a business. They write up the contract in their name and they sell or assign that contract to somebody else. That information's in the book as well for people that want to do it as a business. We're in the process now of putting an infomercial together where we're going to sell the concept of doing lease purchase as the entry-level way to do business in real estate. Because a lot of people want to get into real estate, but what are they going to do? They hear about foreclosures. Well, you got to have cash. And then you buy a property that needs work. Well, you got to know how to fix it up. The point is, if you don't know somebody that has a program like this where you can partner with somebody and learn, you got to do it on your own. And for the average person who hasn't done real estate before, it's huge. And if you go around to investment clubs around the country, which I've done in the past, that I would say over 75% of the people in the room are beginners, and they haven't done a deal yet. So the simplest deal that I know of is calling up a for rent. What's your name?
Brandon.
Brandon? Let's say Brandon has an ad for rent, right? 3-bedroom, 2-bath home. Let's just say keep the math real simple. It's $1,500 a month, $1,500 down on the security deposit, right? And let's say any of us now want to do lease purchase as a business. We simply call up all the for rents and we say to Brandon, hey, I'm calling about your property. Have you ever done any lease purchase?
Yeah.
Say no.
Okay.
Because typically it's no, right? If it's yes, then you can start right in on it, right? But if he says no, and you say, well, the reason I'm calling, right, is because I do lease purchases, and basically it's lease with an option to buy. Do you mind, if you have a minute, could I explain to you how